Well, good morning, at least good morning here in Dallas, Texas. Depends on where you're watching this from, but it's morning here. So, good morning, everyone. And this is the Business Spotlight Series. I'm Sean Schoenmakers, the owner of Action Coach Dallas, where we are helping business owners build and grow their businesses to ultimately improve their lives. And so today we've got a guest with us this morning, Hat. Hat, how you doing this morning?
Fantastic. Getting ready for a day of sweltering heat, but hey, it's better than the freezing cold, right? So good to be on your
Yes.
show, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. I know you're here in Dallas as well. So, as we know, it's going to be over 100 today in the middle of May. But hey, that's Dallas weather, I suppose. And so Hat, appreciate you being on with us. Hat owns a company called Influx, and so he's going to tell us some of the details and about Influx, but also some of his story and just different pieces of information that we can use in our businesses, hopefully. And so. We'll get started by the way, if this is your first time if you're watching the video right now, if you're watching for the first time, make sure that you like, subscribe, make sure you get notifications so that when we drop more of these valuable conversations into the channel that you'll get access to that and you'll see it. So you can, again, use all that information for your business and maybe just be entertained. And so again, Pat, thanks for joining us today. Without further ado, can you introduce us to your business and tell us the problems that you solve?
Sure, thank you. So at Influx, we build software solutions for users who embrace and enjoy out-of-home experiences. And so if you're someone who's just, sick of being at home and you want to go out and have a good time, anything that you need to enable you to go do that from a software perspective is what. Now, that being said, the first sort of niche or area that we focused over the last over a decade now are, like my background suggests, movie theaters.
Mhm.
We are a significant player in the movie theater space where if you were to buy a movie ticket, and hopefully you don't buy it from an aggregator and you buy it directly from the movie theater, then you would be using one of our systems, whether it's to buy a movie ticket or whether it's to buy food, uh, popcorn. Yeah, don't blame the popcorn being overpriced. It's how we run the business. But yeah, that's what my company does. Essentially, build better guest experiences or customer experiences for movie theaters, and then soon growing into other out of home entertainment verticals.
So if a movie theater, for example, or some other entertainment venue has the challenge or the problem of maybe not the best customer experience, you guys can come in, make the experience better, which helps really both parties, the business and the consumer.
That's correct, and but purely from digital perspective. Like we're not here to reshape how lobbies are designed,
Yeah.
things like that. But definitely in terms of conversion, in terms of stickiness, loyalty. A lot of people in the movie theater business after the pandemic had a struggle bringing people back, because people
Hmm.
had gotten so glued to their couches and so used to their convenience of, the screen at home that they just don't want to get out. And so, what are some strategies that we can do to, bring them out? And then just as just as Tom Cruise and Top Gun helped bring everybody back in 2022 or 2021 with Top Gun,
Yeah.
then after we got hit again with a strike, and so again there was a lull in the industry, and so now again we're trying to bring them back. And so, I
Yeah.
mean, look, most of the work is done by the studios who create content, and then we're here to supplement that with strategies.
Nice. Do you guys do babysitting? Because that was one of the things that kept us from going to the movies is our little 1 and 3 year olds, but I'm just kidding. Yeah, so
There is actually a cinema here outside of Dallas in Red Oak, just outside Dallas South, where
they
there
have
is a
sitting.
kids play area. In fact, they have
Okay.
a whole kids auditorium where you can
Yeah.
watch kids movies. Yeah,
That's smart. I wasn't aware of that,
it's
but
called
yeah,
B
back
and
to
B
you.
theaters. Yeah,
B&B.
that's correct.
Interesting.
And they
Okay,
have
cool.
pickleball. They have bowling alley.
Ah,
It's like
okay.
great fun. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, check that one out. I wasn't sure about that. So awesome. Well, let's move into some of the information that makes your business special. So how and why did you start this business at?
Well, I started this when I was 16, and so I did not have some far-sighted vision that I wanted to be in this space these many years later. But then when I started it, essentially I was scratching an itch. I was fascinated by the world of websites. This was 1999, so websites were just taking off. And remember, I was born and raised in India, and so I was just fascinated by the world of websites, and I started doing that. And then one thing led to the other, and I got we worked on our first cinema project in 2006. We first sold popcorn online in 2007 in India.
Okay.
For perspective, the first time popcorn was sold online in the US was 2018.
Hmm.
And so, we've been doing this a long time from that perspective. But yeah, like I said, we didn't choose it. The industry, I believe, chose us, and then we feel very part of this. Very generally, most people have written off the business of movie theaters, and I think that unites some of us who are in it, because we know the data says that people still love getting out of their homes, spending those 2 to 3 hours, and in what is still, frankly, the cheapest way to entertain yourself out of home. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, that's just how we got into it, and what keeps us is the challenge.
Okay, nice. And so, who primarily does your business serve? So, if I was in the audience, I know you mentioned, movie theaters, but if I'm in the audience, how would I know if I'm a good fit for your service, for your products?
Well, if you're a movie theater, then it's pretty much a slam dunk, because we offer something for everyone in the movie theater space across the world, and we're not just. In fact, like I said, we only started doing business in the US in 2018. Uh, we have customers globally, but if you're not a movie theater, and if you are, let's say, anyone in the out of home entertainment space, like for example, a restaurant or an amusement park or a theme park or a like a like a Broadway theater venue. There are a lot of things that actually people underestimate the complexity of a movie theater business. I'll give you a small example. So in the case of a restaurant, uh, the product that we built for food ordering for a movie theater can bring so much value to a restaurant, because in a movie theater, what happens is there is this massive rush of orders or influx of orders at a particular time, right? Because you think about it, the movies at, let's say, 7:30 p.m., most people walk in between 7:15 and 7:30. They sit down, and if you go to like a theater like an Alamo Drafthouse or a Studio Movie Grill, where you can order your food at your seat, you
Yeah,
have this massive rush of orders that all come in at one time, and that creates a huge challenge for the kitchen, and for the staff that are running the food out. And so we've built systems that help, you know um, manage that kind of rush or demand. And I think
yeah,
some of that can be very useful for restaurants and
yeah,
bars and large scale venues, especially because in Texas, you have these really large F&B venues or food and beverage venues
yeah.
who could benefit from some of those technologies. So yeah, if you're a restaurant or you're an entertainment center, like a Dave and Buster's or Chuck E. Cheese, our solutions actually can do a lot because of what we've learned from the world of movie theaters.
Yeah, no, that's interesting to try to take what is, like you said, a potential huge order at the same time. So maybe you need, 10 grills to process all the orders, but if you can manage that or spread it out just a little bit, maybe you need 5 grills or 6 grills, right? So maybe less overhead or less expense or less hours maybe to get it cooked or things like that. So yeah, interesting that could be, but I
Yeah.
can see how that could be beneficial for various types of businesses. So
Yeah, and if
um,
you think, sorry, if I can just
yeah,
expand on that for a second, for example, even in the world of movie theaters, not everybody has the budget to, go and break down a section of their building and expand and put in a big kitchen. And so they want to start out at the basic fryer and, basic station where they can just address some orders and put it out. But they're worried that if they were to enable digital ordering with a small pilot kitchen, that they would get slammed. And therefore, we have things like order throttling that helps manage expectation with guests while taking the order as to when they're going to get their food. And so, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's good. And again, those are maybe harder to implement in person. So,
Mhm.
yeah, good. Yeah, thanks for expanding. So, what makes your business unique, or why do customers or clients, why do they choose you?
I think there are a few different factors. First is we have taken it upon ourselves to innovate on behalf of this industry, because there's so little actually that this business controls. Because if you think about it, the majority of movie theaters across the world play the same movies, right? I mean, it's the same content, and so it's very commoditized. What they can control is their experience. But given that every dollar they make, they lose roughly about 60 cents to studios and to the distributors, they're only left with 40 cents to play with. And since the pandemic, a lot of these movie theaters have renegotiated their deals with their landlords, where now the landlords also take a piece of that ticket. And so
Yeah.
that dollar actually is left with very little for them to play with out of the dollar they make, very little left for them to actually innovate and invest towards innovation. And so we've taken on that mandate. And so we keep coming up with unique features and ideas that, really push the envelope. So for example, during the pandemic, 2020, when cinemas had to shut like a lot of other businesses, we were quick to react and introduce curbside pickup of popcorn through online ordering. We were very quick to implement entirely digital booking of private cinemas where you can just go and pick what time, what date, what movie you want to watch with your friends. And it's up to a group of your 20 friends. Then we'll put you in an auditorium. Just stuff like that where we innovate on behalf of the industries. What are the reasons that our cinema clients really like us? Second is we're manic about support. We are a weekend business. I don't mean weekend. I mean a
Yeah.
weekend,
It sounded like you may have
business.
said weekend. You've been weekend, but no,
I
you're
know.
on the
Oh, yeah,
weekend. Got you.
yeah. A
Yeah.
fin de
Yeah.
semana business.
That'll appeal to the Texas crowd. Fin de semana. Yeah, got you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, why would anyone want to work on my support team, right? But the truth is, again, like I said, we really, really feel like custodians, and we understand that every single, and not understand, we've actually analyzed this data. Every minute that our service might be down on a weekend, we are losing low five-figure dollar amounts every minute.
Mhm.
And so at that point, that tap runs really fast, And so but not just that. I think it's the fact that there's a lot of frustration, for people that have the hopes. If you're a five-member family and you want to go out and have fun, you plan that you want to go do this weekend, and then if it doesn't work, it's just very frustrating, And so we
Yeah.
don't want people to get there, and so we typically tend to respond to anything that's a critical level, issue that we tend to close it within less than 2 to 3 hours. That's where we strive for.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and so, and also it's very complicated because there are multiple systems, and it's always easy to shoot the messenger, and
Uh-huh.
so we're having to navigate different challenges, do a lot of forensic, to figure out what's wrong. And so therefore,
Mm.
while 2 to 3 hours may seem a lot, it is actually not us doing all the fixing, but us doing a lot of the investigation. um, so yeah, those are just a couple of things. I can go on. I'm
Yeah.
obviously, my job is to sell. I'm not here to sell today. So, but then
Yeah. Yeah.
those are a couple of reasons, why they like
Yeah,
us.
well, I know a lot of people talk about how great their support is or their service, but having actually knowing data and looking at it, five figures, it's what, 10,000 a minute. Yeah, that sounds like something you probably want to solve pretty quick. So obviously you're aware of it. You guys clearly put time and effort towards making sure that's what gets happen, what gets done. So I could see why, again, your clients are choosing you guys. So good stuff. Let's go to a marketing perspective or a marketing question. So, what for you? A lot of businesses sometimes struggle with with the marketing of generation of leads and getting business, things like that. So, what's the number one marketing strategy that's brought you the most business?
Facebook advertising, Google. No, of course not. I mean, we're in B2B. None of that, none of those easy low hanging fruit appeal, apply to us, right? It's a grind. And, given that in our business, like in most enterprise sales, your lead time is close to 6 to 12 months at a time. Honestly, prioritizing where you spend your marketing dollars is huge. Well, I guess the most fundamental question is, what is your marketing going to look like? And I think over the years, what I've found to be the most effective route, and being a part of a CEO peer network as well, and I hear a lot of B2B entrepreneurs complaining about this, the advice that I typically share is, or the experience that I share, it's up to them if they want to take it as advice, is conferences and events. But don't just go do the standard playbook, which is get onto the trade show, put a booth. I did that circuit, and I hated it, and for a variety of reasons. For example, I'll tell you, the moment you take a trade show booth, and if you're a small company, smallish company, you need somebody at that trade show booth all the time. And what you're essentially doing, and I love how someone described this to me at one of the conferences, you literally are a pet in a petting zoo. That's what you are when you're standing on the trade show floor. And that's not what you want to be. Yes, your job as a
Uh,
salesperson to do a dog and pony show, but you'd rather be doing a dog and pony show, to one family who have the money to do it. And so you'd rather be doing
yeah.
one-on-one meetings versus you've spent all this money. You've spent on the floor space for the actual space. You then had to spend money to make the booth look unique and nice. And thereafter, you have to promote that booth so people come and actually find you. And then you're just confined to this 10 by 10 or 10 by 20 space for 3 days at a time, not getting an ounce of sunlight in your eyes,
Mm.
in the hope that somebody comes and pets you. I found that to be extremely, extremely disappointing, and a waste of people's time and money. And therefore, what I've encouraged is try and do something different. So what we do at our largest event, it's called CinemaCon. It's between March and April every year in Vegas. The event happens at Caesar's Palace. We take the fanciest suite at the Bellagio because we cannot afford to take a fancy suite at Caesar's, but
Uh,
Bellagio is right next door. But we make an event out of it. Like the first year that we took that suite, I remember we had a masseur in our room who, if you, because our pitch was you make the walk to come to
uh,
us, you'll go back relaxed, because you've
nice.
made the effort to come in. And
Yeah.
so just small things like that that get people's attention. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, let's go try it out. And then the advantage of the suite is I do my meetings by day and I throw a mean party by night in the
Uh-huh.
suite. And on Tuesday nights, I would have as many as 300 people in my suite. It was
Nice.
off the charts,
Yeah.
and the value
Yeah.
the value for money that you get by doing that stuff is incredible. And then again, you got to know when to stop it. Like this year, we didn't do the whiskey part. We're like,
Yeah.
you know what? It's run its course. We got to pivot and do something different. And so therefore, but my point being, make maximum use of these trade shows. With all of that said, you've got to know your audience. When we tried to break into the Australian market 2 years ago, we did take a booth on the trade show floor
Mm.
because I felt it was important. But guess what I did? We had a branded pair, and we typically do this at all events started in the US, where we would give away a branded pair of Nike Air Force One shoes, which are branded Influx. And it's very easy. You just need to go onto the Nike website. There's a customizer tool. You can customize it to your brand's colors, put your logo at the, not logo, put your letters at the back. It helps
Cool.
that I have a 6-letter company name, so three on one shoe,
Yeah.
three on
Yeah.
the other shoe,
Yeah.
and it looks great. And so what we did was, yes, we had these shoes made, and our colors are orange, and so it looks really cool on orange Air Force One. But I got this levitating shoe display where the shoe actually looks like it's levitating and it's rotating, and I just put
Mhm.
that in my booth. And then we had
Yeah.
this, like a little piece of collateral that explained what it was about, how you could win it.
Yeah.
Man, people loved it. They were taking
Yeah.
pictures of it. They were sharing it. They were telling their friends to come and check it out. So you got
Yeah.
to do something unique, and anyone that wants to connect. I'm known for doing my offbeat stuff because although I run a software company, I'm actually a marketing person and a design person at heart. That's why
Yeah.
there's UX in my company's name.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so if anyone wants to chat about offbeat B2B business ideas, I'm more than happy to do it free of cost. I'd love to brainstorm.
Yeah. And I tell you, that's where, marketing really, I mean, we always say marketing is math because you need to know all the numbers behind marketing to keep tweaking and improving and making it better. But it should be a creative, kind of a fun thing. And I think a lot of people are like, ah, like I tried this, doesn't work, try this, I didn't want to do it anymore, right? But if, like you're saying, if you can get creative, think of some ideas that really kind of turns people's heads, then you get a lot of attention, and you can put, that helps get a lot better ROI or return on investment from your marketing because it gets people interested, and they say, hey, tell me who you are, or tell me more about the company. Like, man, that was pretty cool. Like, tell me about you. Obviously I'm interested, right? So yeah, I think some of the things you're doing are awesome. And thanks for sharing. So what about as you look back on your journey, which I know there's been ups and downs, we've chatted before today. What's been the most memorable or what's the hardest challenge that you've had and how did you overcome it?
Ooh, letting success get to my head.
Tell me more.
The year that we made the most amount of money, we lost the most amount of money. And the ironic part is, it was the first year we lost money as well. And that is essentially a situation of a CEO taking his eye off the prize and just looking at one side of, like you said, with marketing, it's very easy to get carried away by the creative process while not analyzing the numbers behind it. It was a it was a bit similar. The year 2022, 23, we had a golden run. It felt like I was King Midas, and everything I touched turned to gold. And I sort of got swayed by that. It's not like I took 6 months off and went and chilled on a beach in the Caribbean. None of that. It's just that I just focused more and more on expansion and growth, and without really focusing on the stuff that I've already sold, how is that getting delivered, first of all. Secondly, have we seen through on the promises that we made? And thirdly, okay, how exactly are we delivering on that? Like, are our costs getting out of control? Because, just expanding further, because my company, we have presence all across the world. We have a team in Canada, New Zealand, India, Middle East. And so, but most of the work is done out of India, as you'd expect. Because labor is perceived to be cheap there, it's not just a perception for people here in the West. Also, leaders in India tend to get carried away. But hey, hold on, we're making money in dollars. I'm paying my people in rupees. And they tend to throw labor as a solution to every problem.
Mhm.
And you soon realize that it all adds up. And
Yeah.
so a lot of that stuff that we just weren't looking at. And most importantly, the way I described this to my company internally was, we had a really good foundation for this building, but it was a foundation for a building with 2 stories. We really quickly got to stories 4, 5, and 6 without strengthening the foundation.
Mhm.
Obviously, it was going to start to crack. And so, and by that, what I mean is the processes, the people processes, the product processes, the project processes, all of those just never were expanded for the increased throughput that was coming through.
Mhm.
And so when you combine all of that, I think that's definitely been the most challenging period. I'm living it right now, to be honest, because
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll ask me how I got out of it. I'm living it right now. It's not easy. There's no, quick fix that can get you out of something like that, and the ripple effects can last for a really long time. And
Yeah.
so yeah, we're living it right now. But to be able to survive something like that and come out of it will, I think, hold you in great stead for a really long time, unless you're a douche, and so, or an idiot. And so, yeah.
Yeah. The well, what was it you said I was going to comment on?
Sorry, my douche comment
A
threw you
lot
off.
of it. No, I didn't throw it out. Pretty funny, but yeah. Oh, that's what it was, the systems and the processes. So it's interesting because when we chat with folks about, systems, processes, "Hey, how are your systems? Oh, they're pretty good." And I feel like I've been through the same thing. Oh yeah, my processes, systems, they're pretty good until you like hire the next person or until you hire 5, 10 more people. And then those 5, 10 people come in and they're like, oh, we couldn't figure out how to do it because the process isn't that good. And then you kind of realize, oh, my process is only good because my people have done it for 5 or 10 years and they just know what they're doing. They're not even, they're not even really using the process. So usually when people grow and expand, it's like, oh yeah, no, you're gonna need better processes or systems, and they just maybe they can't quite see it yet. And so that sounds like just a bit of what you were saying. Hey, we didn't improve those things, and then you get a lot more people, a lot more throughput. Like they don't work. They don't work as well. So yeah,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
got it's a good learning for a lot of people, I think. So
yeah, it's the whole thriving in chaos theory kind of thing, right? I mean, where a lot of people take pride that, the way we operate best is the fact that there's no structure, we're flat hierarchy, and,
yeah.
everything just gets done and we thrive in chaos. That's going to run out soon, bro. That luck's going to run out. That works when you're a team of 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. And guess what?
Yeah,
Yes, that
yeah,
got Jean Koum and Team WhatsApp to 4 billion with Zuck, but now they have over 600 people working there as they've scaled.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm sure they're not just flying by the seat of their pants right now. So
yeah. I think it's definitely one of those misunderstood things, but for a lot of people, which is why
but
we
it
like
gets
having these.
glorified. It gets glorified. The truth is
Yeah.
that kind of stuff gets glorified
Why do you think?
because it's cool.
Yeah,
Like, for example, when we were chatting earlier, you
it's
asked me, you know, what is the one thing I would do differently? If I had to restart all over again, I would not have done this straight out of high school. I
yeah,
would go get a job somewhere, learn something from the corporate world before. And yes, you may say that the grass is greener and on the other side, and I've never experienced that, but I know that I've only learned by falling on my face time
yeah,
and again, yet keeping this nose somehow. But it's not been easy. I mean, to get shit
yeah,
on your face all the time,
yeah,
it's just really, really hard. And so yeah, just stuff like that. But if you look at it, oh, he's a college dropout. Yeah, you heard about
yeah,
the really cool college dropout because he made it to 100 million. You did not
Yeah,
hear about all of those college dropouts that landed on their face and broke their nose and never could stand up back again. And so some of
yeah.
these things get glorified because you only hear a piece or a part of the reality. And yeah, I mean, I'm not
And
a
that's what's, potentially more entertaining, right?
yeah,
Hey, it's
absolutely.
entertaining to think about these things. It's entertaining to kind of give people this potential dream of, oh, I could be the college dropout. Oh, I could accomplish all these things. And all that is true. But like you said, what's not told is all the stuff that we talk about, stuff that's above the water and below the water. And 90% of what happens is below the water. You can't see it. And so, yeah, you got the 10% that it was a college dropout, but you didn't hear that he like took classes at night and like, he had to go work on these specific sales skills because he realized he couldn't sell to the customers he was trying to hit, reach. And all these other things that happened that allowed that to be successful. And by the way, there's also a lot of other instances of people that were college dropouts that did not make it, right? And so, but yeah, I think again, it's not that interesting to talk about the other people. It's interesting to talk about, the little that one example. So yeah, it does get glorified for maybe for good reasons, and I just think that's why it's important. That's why we like to do these podcasts because a lot of misconceptions about business ownership and entrepreneurship. And so, hey, let's hear the real stories, right? Let's hear like what really happens, not just
Yeah,
what makes the news, right? So,
yeah. And Sean, again, the other thing that I sort of for the longest time just couldn't fathom how it was glorified was loss leadership. The fact that, profit, what's that? Forget that. Just go and spend and just acquire and growth. That's all you got to be focused on is growth. There's VCs don't give a damn about your profit. All those days are gone. The
yeah.
number of people that had to sharpen their pencils to stay relevant, and I'll be honest, I used to be one of those sitting and listening to those podcasts and hearing these people preach about how everyone should be, taking the medicine and, sharpening their pencils. And I used to think, going, am I really beyond all of that? Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm having a good run. Like, stick with it. And here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as a lot of things change over time. They fluctuate, go up and down. So got to keep adjusting, moving with the times, depending on what is important to various stakeholders at this time. So, what about let's touch on what about as an employer? What's been the biggest learning you've had as an employer for the team side?
Interesting. As an employer, I would say nobody is indispensable. You've got to tell yourself that. You've got to build around that, the fact that nobody is indispensable. Because,
Including
yes,
you?
yes, that's how you got to build the organization, right? Like, who knows? I may, like in the case of Steve Jobs, right? He just passed. All of a sudden, you develop pancreatic cancer. No one sees that coming. And then, sure, maybe they didn't announce it. Maybe they knew it was coming. They're a large
Yeah.
enough company, but like the proverbial VC statement, what happens if you get hit by a bus? And
Yeah.
therefore, if you don't prep the company to be able to handle your or anyone else's sudden absence for whatever reasons, then you're going to fail. So that's, I think, been one of my most profound takeaways. And I'll be honest, it was one of my members of my team. We were driving. It's funny. We were driving back from this theater that's my background, which is the Alamo
Hmm.
Drafthouse in Cedars here in
Nice.
Dallas. We were coming back in an Uber, and my colleague told me this. And I was talking to him about this yesterday. It's so funny. He told me this about 3 years ago. He was like, there's one thing about Influx which is very, very funny, which is no matter who leaves this company, somehow it manages to find its feet and keep moving on. And that I took as a compliment or a testament, because that is extremely hard. And yeah, but that's sort of one thing that I really protect. I try to not be complacent about it, because it yeah, that's my biggest learning, I think, as an employer.
Yeah. We always talk about investing in the systems because the systems stay with you, right? So the people might flow in and out, and that typically happens. Actually, in good organizations, that's what happens because people they get built over time, they gain skills, they become better people, and then sometimes they get hired away. So, but if you have your systems in place or the processes or the things that are, they stick with your business, like great, that's not going anywhere, right? So, So yeah, people will leave. Kind of need to build it, kind of assuming that's going to happen, which not everyone is really thinking about. So again, another good learning. Appreciate you sharing your insights. What's next for you? What's the next goal or milestone?
Turnaround. We've, like I said, we were on a fantastic trajectory from a top line perspective, 2022, 23, coming out of the pandemic. And then, we've hit this wall, which we're trying to jump over. And I think for now, and I know that's more at a 50,000 feet level, but to break it down into realistic uh, milestones, we've sort of saddled this horse of trying to be a product company or a project company for a very long time because we started off as a project company. I'm like I said, I'm a design guy. I like to craft unique experiences, but you soon realize that doesn't value really well with investors. It's a really hard sales process, and it's a all or nothing kind of situation. When you land a client, there's this windfall, and then otherwise it's just the desert. And so you've got to make the business more predictable. And so we've embarked wholeheartedly on that product journey last year, which again was a very interesting time to choose to do it because you don't have the money for the R&D. You
Hmm.
need to find the scaffolding to survive, and yet you're trying to make this transition. I think it's just been so hard, but you've got to commit to it, right? You've got to commit to it because of whatever reasons. Like in my case, I'll tell you, we brought in the right people at the start of last year and the year before, who, if I had let them just fix the problems on hand, would I would be doing injustice to them and to and to their talent and to what the company is having to incur in terms of a cost. And therefore, we were like, okay, you know what, we're going to have to grind our teeth and do both, rebuild yet pivot. And so I think that journey is going well. We're seeing it start to pay off. But to me, that's our first milestone: is how soon can I convert what percentage of my customers into a ARR model from
Hmm.
a time and material model, which is what we used to be on earlier. And
Yeah.
and yeah, so yeah, that's sort of the first goal.
Nice. Good. Yeah, I like it. And so, last question before we get into our last question. Yeah. How can others learn more about you? How can they get in contact?
Uh, Multiple ways. I'm a fairly gregarious person. I organize the pickleball leagues. If you're in Dallas Friday evenings, I'd love to have you guys. We have a court at home, so we play here. But on social, I'm on LinkedIn. You could search for Hat or Harish Anand Thilakan, which is my full name. I'm on X, Hat 6363, Instagram Hat 6363. I mean, you'll find me. Just if you type Hat Influx,
Hey,
it'll come up. But I'd love to engage. Yeah.
cool. Awesome. And then any special offers you'd like to offer any listeners?
I don't think my business is meant for that, but I'll tell you what. If you ping me, I'll give you free movie tickets as long as you
Oh.
promise to buy popcorn and soda.
Oh, okay, cool. I like it.
Yeah.
So there you go. Free movie tickets. I'm sure anyone will take up something like that. So well, thanks
Conditions
a
apply.
bunch.
Conditions apply.
Yes, conditions apply. Don't mention that. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so thank you very much, Hat, for joining us today and sharing again various trials and tribulations. Hopefully, people got some good learning out of it and maybe some entertainment. And so, with that, we'll say make it a great day and appreciate you coming on and joining us.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks for having me, and would love to hear from anyone that wants to chat.
Awesome. All right. Have a good one.
Cheers.